This is Sound and Vision on KEXP. I'm Emily Fox. The Seattle band Brad has released their final record. It's called In the Moment That You're Born.
It's an open book. It's an open hand. And I'm standing in the face of the sun.
Brad formed in Seattle in the early 90s. The group features the late Sean Smith on vocals.
I'm Stone Gossard, and I play guitar.
Gossard's main gig is playing rhythm guitar for Pearl Jam.
I'm Regan Hager. I play drums in Brad.
He's also played in the Seattle band Satchel and Malfunkshun. The band had been working on this record for nearly a decade. In 2019, they had plans to record the final pieces to finish the album, but Sean didn't arrive to the session.
We had scheduled studio time, and him not arriving was the alarm that was sounded that we sent a close friend to do a wellness check, and sadly found he had passed.
Sean had died from a torn aorta and high blood pressure.
It was probably the first day that we had scheduled as the band for at least 2 years, so it'd been a really long time. And that's what the irony of it was, and the sort of craziness of it.
The band took a few years off to deal with the loss, but after some time, they did ultimately come back and finish the record. Hager says listening to the title track really stood out to him while the band was finishing this album without Smith.
In the Moment That You Were Born was like this, became a little bit more of a momentous kind of Sean's passing. It just, things crystallized in a way, his message became clear. I mean, he's always had a very positive message throughout his career. And especially now with him gone, you really hear these real positive things. And so that's something that rose up and became a bit of a lead piece for us, I think.
I think that song is central, and it's the most, it shows where he would have gone or where we could have gone.
There is something so powerful in the moment that you're born. In the moment that you're born.
Did Sean ever talk about the stories behind some of the lyrics he was writing, or just the overall message that he wanted to share within this record?
No, Sean didn't really talk about, to me personally, I don't know whether he did to you, Regan, but he didn't really kind of, reveal too much about his lyrics beyond, his performance. Sean, a lot of times we would write songs and on this record, and we would have an idea of what we want to do. Say Keith had a riff or something, and then we'd kind of build something up. And on a couple of tracks, I think Sean would come in, wouldn't even be there during the day. He'd come in at night when we were finished. It's like, you guys get out, let me mess around with this. And he would just turn it on its head. He would just take the whole thing and go, okay, this is actually the riff we're going to use. And I'm going to loop that. And then I'm going to play some guitar over the top of it. And you get back the next day and it's like, the song was completely transformed, and it was so much more interesting and had so much more vitality and so much more. He put the sort of the lifeblood into it. He always felt like he could layer another layer on top, and you could still hear this thing that's going on, but all of a sudden it was three-dimensional and it had this depth to it. And that was one of the most amazing parts about Sean, was that his ability to kind of attack something like in a childlike simplicity that when it worked, there was nothing. You moved from a song that's like, oh, here's a song that's, one of 10 million on Spotify, to all of a sudden this thing has like some kind of life to it. He reminded us of that all the time, and a reverence to kind of songwriting that I love.
Speaking lyrically, he mentioned to me one time, and this was back when we were making an album in Satchel, another band Sean and I are in, and he had written a song about a kind of a negative time, and he realized that when we were touring that he didn't like to relive it night after night, and he said, I'm never going to write negative lyrics again because I have to perform them and it like manifests itself into this negative energy. And so he's like, forever I'm going to be positive. And he did indeed do that for the next 25 years or whatever it was. So that's something about his lyrics that he did mention to me. But he was pretty, as far as he didn't go around pontificating, this is my message. He wasn't really on a soapbox at all. He just had a constant positivity, I think.
And overall, I mean, how would you describe Sean just as a person and an artist?
Playful. Sean, was like, he was always like the DJ on tour, always playing all these old TV shows that he fell in love with, these old videos. He just loved to like turn you on to kind of his world of art and what he was excited about. I think that Sean's lyrics remained so positive, but at his core, Sean was a blues singer in that sense that there's so much longing. There's so little difference between his emotional state and the words that are kind of coming out. And words maybe even weren't even that important as much as the tone of his voice and the breath. Those are the things that he could just start with a sound and you just sink into it. And he had that is a mystical place. I think he always identified with that as being a sense as a mystic, and when he felt the presence of the spirit of music, he always steered that lyrical content, or again, like Regan said in the last 25, he steered it towards this sense of awe and this sense of beauty about the world, a sense of injustice and a sense of wrong that is out there, but also a longing to be part of something that is positive or affecting it in a positive way,
That was Stone Gossard and Regan Hager talking about the late Sean Smith and their final album as the band Brad. That album was released on July 28th. It's called In the Moment That You're Born. Here's the title track.
Waking up from a nightmare, it's relief to be at home in the country of nowhere. It's the light that leads away. There is something so difficult about living in the past. Clear the way for a miracle, turn the fear right into dust. Hollowed out like an inner tube, it can feel like falling free. Standing still on the highway, you are sure you're gonna last. There is something so wonderful in the way the raindrops fall. There is something so magical in the sound of howling wind. Look at me for a minute, dear. Will you tell me what you see? Am I shining like silverware, or do I glow crystal green? There is something so fabulous in the air before a storm. There is something so powerful in the moment that you're born. In the moment see. I'm terrorized by feelings and everyone, everything is believed.
That was Sound and Vision. Before you go, please take 2 minutes of your time and do something that would mean a lot to me. Subscribe to this podcast, rate it, and review it. Those little things go a long way to let other people know that this podcast is worthy of their time. And KEXP is a publicly funded station, which means the majority of our funding pays for what we do. So if you want to financially support this show, we would really appreciate it. You can give a one-time $20 donation at kexp.org/sound. Thanks so much for listening.